Tonight, another passenger in a wheelchair says they were injured and humiliated at a Canadian airport.
It was just a horror story.
Stranded in his seat for hours, eventually put on 2 beverage carts to get off the plane.
That, to me, is very shocking.
After a series of similar stories told to CBC News, what's being done about it? Barred from the ballot in Colorado, Donald Trump's campaign now in legal limbo.
They certainly supported an insurrection, no question about it. None, zero.
We break down how the Supreme Court could shape the 2024 election. A surge in sickness, hospitals strained.
It seems like everyone you know is sick right now.
How to stay out of the ER this holiday season.
This is The National with Asha Tomlinson.
Adrian is away tonight. A passenger is speaking out about a dangerous and dehumanizing ordeal at the Vancouver International Airport, arriving on a British Airways flight, but trapped when crews couldn't get him off the plane. Jeffrey Schneiderman uses a wheelchair and ended up stranded on the plane for hours, eventually carried out on food trolleys. His injuries still haven't fully healed, and as Michelle Gassoub shows us, he's the latest in a series of passengers who use wheelchairs, revealing similar incidents to CBC News.
Jeffrey Schneiderman was looking forward to a month-long holiday in BC last summer, but the moment he landed in Vancouver, the trip took a turn.
It was just sheer terror, so I just had to try and close my eyes and pray.
Schneiderman, who has MS and uses a wheelchair, was told by the airline crew the airport didn't have the specialized equipment known as an Eagle lift, demonstrated in this video, that would help him off the plane. After 2 hours of sitting on the tarmac, British Airways called paramedics for help.
I was then beginning to feel very alarmed and panicked, and as though this must be happening to somebody else.
The paramedics put him on a stretcher, then used 2 of these carts normally used to serve passengers food and drinks to finally get him out.
So they didn't have any way of clipping them or keeping them together other than manually while they were pushing. And I suppose they were doing their best to try and keep me level and on the food carts. But food carts are just not designed to transport people.
The incident left Schneiderman bedridden during his holiday and with a pressure sore that became septic. His foot was so damaged it came close to being amputated, but the toll of the incident wasn't just physical.
It was just a horror story. I was having panic attacks about it, and panic episodes about being trapped.
Schneiderman is just the latest passenger arriving in Vancouver in a wheelchair to share a harrowing story with CBC News. In April, 1 passenger was injured as crews struggled to get him off a flight. In May, another passenger was dropped on the floor. This aviation expert says there's a gap in accountability. In Schneiderman's case, a failure to get proper equipment created an especially dangerous situation.
Even with the wide variety of emergency equipment that they have at their disposal, they deemed the best option to be the catering carts on board the aircraft. And that, to me, is very shocking.
So, Michelle, Schneiderman has gotten some compensation for his ordeal, but there are still questions about how this could happen.
Yeah, so he did get 1,500 British pounds. That's roughly 2,500 Canadian dollars, but he said that was nowhere near the compensation he would need to cover his medical bills from what happened. As for Vancouver Airport, they say they do have Eagle lifts, but it's up to every individual airline to ensure that their passengers are getting on and off of flights safely.
Michelle, thank you. A surge in ER visits has Quebec sounding the alarm as hospitals from BC to Ontario are struggling to keep ahead of sick calls. As John Hernandez explains, Canada is facing a viral tidal wave just in time for the holidays.
Sydney Freeston knows it's a bit late to start decorating the tree, but this year she just hasn't had the strength to do it.
Since the end of October, there has barely been a day in which all 4 of the people in my household have been healthy.
Freeston, her husband, and kids all battling a slew of illnesses from colds to strep throat, even COVID-19.
We're 5 days out from Christmas, and we are nowhere near where we normally are at this time.
Health Canada says cases of respiratory illnesses have been on the rise since mid-November nationwide. In Quebec, transmission is showing no signs of slowing down.
The situation over the next few weeks will deteriorate. Let's be clear about that.
Those without urgent illness asked to stay away from emergency rooms as many operate above capacity.
We need all the hospitals to be taking away all the pressure from the emergency. When we reach 200%, we know it's not safe.
Other provinces like BC and Ontario say they are faring better, but aren't immune to health worker shortages.
This is unheard of for emergency doctors to call in sick.
About 22,000 people of the couple of 100,000 who work in the healthcare system who missed at least one day last week.
And with COVID added to annual cold and flu seasons, medical experts say these intense waves of sickness may be the new normal. And annual flu shots and COVID boosters are more important than ever.
We have to have surveillance that shows us what the burden of respiratory infections actually is in our communities, and we have to be able to make individual but also collective decisions.
Health officials say those decisions can be as simple as masking up or sanitizing your hands. But most importantly, if you are sick, just stay home. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
New video is emerging out of Iceland, giving a different perspective to an ongoing volcanic eruption. The strength of the natural phenomenon is waning, and local officials say there's still no risk to people, though they're continuing to monitor levels of toxic gas from the lava. And there's no timeline on when the eruption could end or the evacuation orders lifted. Donald Trump's campaign team is vowing to appeal a Colorado ruling aimed at kicking him off the ballot in the next U.S. election. Katie Simpson now with the growing role the Supreme Court could play in determining the next president.
Donald Trump's legal woes have a way of uniting his allies and opponents, his Republican presidential challengers jumping to defend him.
I do not believe Donald Trump should be prevented from being president of the United States by any court.
There was no trial on any of this. They basically just said, what, you can't be on the ballot?
We don't need to have judges making these decisions. We need voters to make these decisions.
A Colorado court is banning Trump from election ballots in the state because it ruled he participated in an insurrection, a disqualifying violation of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Trump's re-election campaign team says it will appeal the decision to the U.S. Supreme Court.
We need the Supreme Court to rule substantively on this issue and to do it as soon as possible for all Americans, but especially for the Republican Party, who needs to know if they have a qualified nominee.
Trump could be banned on ballots in other states if the Colorado decision is upheld. A similar case is already pending in Michigan.
I know it's the holidays, but let's get together and get a decision to the states on this, especially as you now will likely have diverging opinions among the states.
The president says he'll monitor proceedings, but agrees with one part of the Trump ruling.
But he certainly supported an insurrection. And no question about it. None. Zero.
Trump is now the focus of several Supreme Court cases that could shape the 2024 election. It will soon decide whether Trump is immune from prosecution for alleged crimes committed when he was president, specifically the charges tied to his efforts to hold on to power after losing the 2020 vote. All charges, he says, are politically motivated.
They're weaponizing law enforcement for high-level election interference because we're beating them so badly in the polls.
Now, Katie, the Trump re-election campaign is actually trying to capitalize on the Colorado case, right?
Yeah, they're fundraising. Shortly after the Colorado decision, a series of emails requesting donations blasted into inboxes. It's part of a larger pattern, turning lemons into lemonade to try to pay the legal bills. After previous criminal charges, Trump started selling merchandise with his mugshots. Right now, there are even Christmas stockings with his mugshot photo that say "Never Surrender." Every time Trump faces a new legal setback, he gets a sympathy bump of support from Republicans. So far, none of this has hurt him in the polls, and there's nothing to suggest it will anytime soon.
All right. Katie Simpson reporting from Washington tonight. Thank you.
Thanks.
In Gaza tonight, a grim milestone as Israel's ground offensive expands. The Hamas-run Health Authority now says more than 20,000 people have been killed in the territory since the war began. About 8,000 were reportedly children. CBC News cannot independently verify those numbers, but the United Nations says previous figures out of Gaza have been credible. And in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reaffirmed his vow to eradicate Hamas in a televised address, saying whoever thinks that we will stop is detached from reality. As fighting continues in southern Gaza, the IDF says it's nearing its objective in the north, adding most of its targets there have now been dismantled. For the first time, India's Prime Minister has personally addressed allegations of his government's involvement in assassination plots in Canada and the US. It comes as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the relationship may be shifting. Evan Dyer explains why.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made his first ever remarks about allegations that his government conspired to murder Sikh separatists on both US and Canadian soil. If a citizen of ours has done anything good or bad, he said in an interview, we are ready to look into it. Our commitment is to the rule of law.
I think there is the beginning of an understanding that they can't bluster their way through this.
Canada's Prime Minister says India's initial defensiveness against Canada appears to be moderating.
And there is an openness to collaborating in a way that perhaps they were less open before.
Yes, the Canadian Prime Minister made some allegations.
The killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
Canada accused India back in September of killing Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar in BC. Since then, Modi's let his foreign minister do the talking. The comments about Canada were often dismissive.
It's a very toxic combination of issues and people who have found operating space there.
This is Gurpratwan Singh Panu. Last month, the U.S. said it foiled a plan to kill a Sikh separatist on American soil, the indictment accusing India of directing the plot.
What's changed is that India can't afford to damage its relationship with the United States, and this indictment has put India in a position where it's had to do something, and what it's done is announce some kind of investigation.
Canadian government officials don't believe that this was a rogue operation, but proving that may not be a priority.
My guess would be that you'll find a fall person who will be pinned with this, and they'll sort of label them a rogue agent, and then we'll try and move on with the relationship.
We don't want to be in a situation of having a fight with India right now over this. We want to be working on that trade deal.
Both the U.S. and Canada are clearly still trying to find a way out of this dispute that minimizes damage to their budding relationship with India. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
Several people are in hospital tonight after a stabbing attack at a restaurant in Saguenay, Quebec. This afternoon, police were called to the restaurant after someone walked in and assaulted customers with a knife. It's unclear how many were injured or how seriously. The suspect was arrested at the scene. A police officer in Belleville, Ontario, has been found guilty of assaulting a Mohawk man during an arrest. Another officer was acquitted. Jorge Barrera has been following this case and has the victim's reaction and a warning. There's disturbing video in this story.
What did you feel after all this time?
It's just a waste of time.
Mario Baptiste Jr. waited 4 years for this moment.
Not really upset. It's just typical. That's what happens to Mohawk people. This is what it is.
Two Belleville, Ontario police officers, Paul Fike and Jeffrey Smith, were charged with assault causing bodily harm a year and a half after a confrontation with Baptiste at a Taco Bell. He's from the Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. Today, a Superior Court justice found Smith guilty of a lesser assault charge and completely acquitted Fike.
That's obviously the part that's concerning, is that Fike put in motion a series of events that he didn't have the grounds or justification to put into action, and he walks away scot-free.
Lawyers for the officers declined to speak today. Court testimony showed Fike crossed paths with Baptiste in November 2019 while Baptiste shopped with a friend and friend's teenage son at a hardware store. Fike, who was off duty, said he was told the teenager stole an energy drink and believed the trio was acting suspiciously. He called dispatch and followed them to a nearby Taco Bell. Smith led officers into the restaurant and eventually grabbed Baptiste to arrest him. Fike ran in to help in the takedown. Baptiste lost consciousness and was taken to hospital by ambulance. The hardware store never filed a complaint, and no one was ever charged with shoplifting. The judge said that Smith did not have grounds to arrest Baptiste and found him guilty of assault. However, the judge said that Fike did have grounds to assist Smith in the takedown of the Mohawk man. Smith's sentencing is scheduled for January. The Crown's office is reviewing the ruling to determine whether it will appeal. Jorge Barrera, CBC News, Belleville, Ontario.
Police in P.E.I. say they've found what they believe to be the body of 17-year-old Tyler McDonald after making 2 arrests.
Several charges are expected to be laid later, including homicide. I'd like to thank the public that assisted with this investigation over the past week, and my condolences go out to the McDonald family, as this is not the outcome we had hoped for.
Police launched an extensive search for McDonald, who went missing last week. Those arrested last night can't be identified under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. In Quebec, thousands of teachers may be off the job indefinitely unless a deal is reached soon in their labor dispute. They've been on rotating strikes, but now they say they could walk off the job entirely after the holidays. As Sarah Levitt shows us, it's put a serious strain on families.
Bertrand Gély usually relies on school meal programs to keep his daughters well fed. But right now, that's not possible.
My kids are at home because of the school strike. So we are trying to find solutions to feed them.
He's turned to this non-profit in Montreal, which offers meals to the community at heavily reduced prices.
Inflation is still there, and grocery is quite expensive.
The union, representing 65,000 French teachers, has been on an unlimited strike for the past 20 days. Now another coalition of unions, known as the Common Front, is threatening to do the same in the new year as contract negotiations with the government stall. It'll mean a total of 160,000 teachers on the picket lines, closing all public schools across Quebec. It would also mean no subsidized meals for kids supplied by the Breakfast Club of Canada.
It's 20,000 kids that have not access to their breakfast program right now, so it is preoccupying.
Community organizations like the one that's helped Gély are filling in the gap.
We got quite an increase in our services since the strike began. I would say around 50 to 100 meal a day in extra.
Teachers, too, are struggling. I've experienced other strikes, Yves Villeneuve says, but this one is particularly hard.
There's no way we can continue like that.
Offers and counter-offers in the public sector negotiations continued to be rejected. For its part, the government says the unions are not being flexible in its offers. The unions disagree.
I think that the government should feel trapped, and they are fully accountable of that.
As negotiations drag on, many worry what the new year will look like for teachers and parents, but mostly for the kids. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
Canada is committed to ending the sale of gas-powered vehicles by 2035, but there are still major obstacles to make that a reality.
It is still a challenge sometimes to find a charger. When you do find one, sometimes there's a vehicle already plugged in there.
The push to grow Canada's charging network for electric vehicles. Next. Plus, his passion is spreading joy to others.
It just brought back the spark, the light in his eyes.
Sending holiday cheer to strangers, one card at a time. And our favorite moment countdown continues.
I immediately thought, this is the most Canadian thing I've ever seen.
The Great Coffee Rescue, caught on camera. We're back in 2. This was the end of a dramatic police chase in downtown Toronto today. The suspect, the driver of a stolen U-Haul truck, was being pursued after he allegedly abducted a person at gunpoint. Police say the victim was let go at some point during the 2-hour chase. Along the way, the driver collided with several vehicles. The incident began with an investigation into the stabbing of a police officer 2 weeks ago. The suspect is now under arrest, but there's no word on charges. Well, this week, Ottawa released strict targets for the sale of zero-emission vehicles, hitting 100% by 2035. Automakers can earn credits towards that by building charging stations, but that's a small step for a big problem. As Katie Nicholson shows us, Canada's drivers need a lot more places to plug in, and it's not clear who's in charge of building them.
1, 2, 3, release the goats! Yay!
Believe it or not, these goats aren't necessarily the main attraction at this farm.
Aww.
Neither are the alpacas.
They dug underground and they actually are connected to an electric panel in the cafe.
This EV charging station is also becoming a big draw.
We have people who come on a regular basis because they know we have these.
Debbie Nightingale installed these last year with the help of a federal tourism recovery grant after seeing how few chargers there were in the area. So this is you guys right here, and all of this is empty.
Yeah, chargerless.
As Canada rockets toward its 2035 target of 100% zero-emission vehicle sales, a federal study estimated it will need just under 500,000 public charging ports across the country. Others argue it's not nearly enough. Currently, there are roughly 25,000. The question is, who needs to make this happen?
The primary responsibility for this infrastructure right now does lie with the federal government, and the reason for that is they are regulating the sale of these vehicles and they're establishing these targets.
Right now, different levels of government are all working together in different parts of the country. Critics say with no cohesive plan. Now it's time for the industry to step up.
This is 100% an industry thing. And they're the ones that need to start innovating to basically sell a car with the service of charging.
Caught in the middle of these growing pains, EV owners like Ian Everdell.
When you do find one, sometimes there's a vehicle already plugged in there. There's 18 different apps that you might have to use. They don't always work.
At least now he knows he can come here, charge his car, and maybe get charged by a few goats. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Newtonville, Ontario.
Super cute. Sending Christmas cards may be a dying art for some, but a Nova Scotia boy has been sending thousands to people he doesn't even know.
He's loved cards since he was a toddler. It's just what brings him joy.
How spreading holiday joy has changed his life. That's next. Plus, a court kicks Donald Trump off the ballot in Colorado.
We don't need to have judges making these decisions. We need voters to make these decisions.
What does it mean for the U.S. election? And Canada's biggest city is no longer affordable for many.
I think you're going to either see people living in squalor or you just have people leave the city.
How skyrocketing rents are changing Toronto. The National breaks down the stories shaping our world next. A Nova Scotia boy is spreading holiday cheer in a big way. He's been mailing out thousands of Christmas cards to complete strangers. And as Kayla Hounsel shows us, the act of kindness could lead to an even larger tradition.
Joey Connolly spends a lot of time in this exact spot.
Hours.
Why?
Because I love it.
It's as simple as that. Joey just loves making cards.
He's loved cards since he was a toddler. It's just what brings him joy.
But earlier this year, Joey wasn't experiencing any joy at all. He lives with autism and was being bullied at school. Everything changed when his parents posted on social media inviting people to send him cards for his 12th birthday. He received hundreds.
It was 8 weeks solid of mail. Every day for 8 weeks, there was mail in that mailbox from anywhere from BC to Newfoundland, sometimes Australia.
You're on the cover of that one. Yeah, it turned me into a card.
He's now known as the Card King.
And he was laughing again. It just brought back the spark, the light in his eyes.
For Christmas, he wanted to make 1,000 cards, his favorite number. Now they've made more than 3,000, sending them to schools, seniors' homes, social enterprises, and more.
We did Snoopy, we did SpongeBob. We just had a lot of fun with it. It was a really good time for Joey and I to spend time together.
And then came the offer from Carlton Cards for next year.
Joey's going to be able to design a custom card that will be printed out. All the 6,000 cards that he wants to do will all be taken care of.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
Sometimes he delivers the cards himself. This is a group of adult learners.
For Joey to want to come here to participate in this with us means a lot because a lot of our learners have struggled throughout their lives.
Long after his birthday, he's still finding surprises in the mailbox. His mother says the cards give him confidence. They've also improved his reading.
I am so proud of him to come from a very dark place to a place where he's content and he's happy and he's calm and he's just my silly, goofy Joey.
As he mails off the last batch, his mother hopes Joey's story will inspire others living with autism to explore their interests, whatever they may be. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Marshalltown, Nova Scotia.
Now we break down the stories shaping our world. As rising rents make Toronto less affordable, the city is being reshaped in profound ways. But first, is Donald Trump's race to be president now in legal jeopardy?
High-level election interference.
The Colorado Supreme Court says his role in the January 6th attack on the Capitol amounted to insurrection, disqualifying him for office. If Trump appeals the decision by January 4th, his name will remain on the Colorado ballot until the U.S. Supreme Court makes the final call. Okay, let's break down this stunning new twist in Donald Trump's campaign to win back the White House. Here with me is Washington Post senior political reporter Aaron Blake. Aaron, you know, at the heart of this ruling, why did Colorado's top court say Trump can't be on the ballot in that state?
Well, basically, there was an earlier ruling from a district court judge that found that Trump had engaged in insurrection, which is the test that the 14th Amendment provides for disqualifying somebody from holding office. But that judge also said that that portion of the 14th Amendment didn't apply to presidents. We had basically the Colorado Supreme Court agreeing on the former part and disagreeing on the latter, saying that, in fact, the 14th Amendment does apply to Trump, adopting much of the same reasoning, but having a very different legal analysis.
But you know, Colorado isn't really a battleground state. It has voted Democratic for a couple of cycles now. How could this ruling impact Trump in other states?
Yeah, I think this is much more important symbolically, historically, and politically than it is in a direct way. Colorado is not a state that Donald Trump is very likely to win. If he is in any position to win it, he is very likely going to win the election. But the real questions here are whether this might tempt other states to go in a similar direction now that Colorado has kind of broken the seal on this. The other big question is whether or not this, kind of allows Trump to get his supporters more behind him with a sense of persecution that has proved very potent for him, at least in the Republican primary.
Yeah, that's something he has used before. We know that. So he uses court decisions to his advantage, too, especially when they go against him. What about this one? How do you foresee this playing out?
I think that the concept of indicting a president certainly helped him in Republican primary politics, not necessarily in the general election. I think actually physically taking him off the ballot could take things even to another level still, because while an indictment and a conviction could potentially influence voters, he can point to this and say, look, they're not even giving you a chance to vote for me regardless. And so we're starting to see that message. We're starting to see lots of fundraising emails. I would imagine this is something that Republicans are going to continue talking about a lot more than Democrats, which might give you a little bit of a sense for how the two parties believe this decision might play politically.
For sure. A lot of this week has been spent talking about Trump, not about Nikki Haley, right, and her surge, or Ron DeSantis, or any other Republican candidate running against Trump. What kind of reaction are you seeing to that?
Certainly, there is at least some doubt about the Republican nominee, but that doubt is getting a little bit smaller every day. If you look at the polls, the trajectory of Trump's lead has continued to improve. He's now over 60% of the vote in most recent national polls. And this is a problem really that we saw back in 2016 as well, which is that Trump often kind of blots out the sun by virtue of his personality, his willingness to say things that are controversial, his style. It makes it much more difficult for other candidates to kind of penetrate and get themselves noticed by more casual voters. I will say, though, that Nikki Haley's polling in New Hampshire, the second primary state, is getting a little bit better. So there is at least some sense that there could be somewhat of a path to a more competitive race at this point.
Lastly, I have to ask, just looking ahead, the U.S. Supreme Court is expected to decide this case ultimately. What do constitutional experts think may happen?
I think that this was always something that was going to be headed for the Supreme Court. A number of different states have been pursuing something like this. This is the first time an effort has been successful in a state court. Certainly, the fact that the Supreme Court leans conservative and is full of 3 out of 9 justices that were appointed by Trump would lead people to draw a certain conclusion about that. But I think just more broadly speaking, if you look at what happened in Colorado, it was a panel of 7 judges who were appointed by Democrats. 3 of them voted against this. So really, this is a pretty unusual ruling and something that I wouldn't necessarily expect judges elsewhere to sign on to. And I think that would provide evidence that perhaps the Supreme Court may overturn this.
Well, one thing's for sure, we can expect more twists, more turns, and we'll be talking to you again for sure.
Thank you.
Coming up, many Torontonians are struggling with the rising cost of living, and it's taking a toll on cultural communities.
I have a pretty decent job and I still can't afford housing.
What happens to a city when people can no longer afford the rent? That's next on The Breakdown. Crushing rents are changing Canada's biggest city.
It's a grim situation out there.
I have a pretty decent job and I still can't afford housing.
It's pushing some people out and keeping others poor.
Perhaps most importantly, who will be left?
This past fall, Shannon Martin took a look at what might happen if Toronto rents stay out of reach for so many people.
What's going to happen if Toronto can't get these rent prices under control? It's a question I first thought about 5 years ago. My rent skyrocketed $950 a month. I thought, there's no way. Back then, I remember thinking rent in Toronto was extremely expensive.
This is the cheapest place I found in Toronto.
I'm just having a hard time saving up for any kind of future in the city.
Now it's way worse. The average monthly cost for a 1-bedroom apartment in September 2023 was more than $2,600.
It's a perfect storm of factors leading rents to rise at an unprecedented speed.
Not so far off in the distant future, he says, we could see rents of $3,000, $3,500, eventually $4,000 a month.
When I say soaring rents, things are changing very fast right now. This isn't, a slow burn.
The question is, who can afford that? The average household just can't. It got me thinking, what's going to happen to the city? What will it turn into? What will it look like? And perhaps most importantly, who will be left? We know rising rents are making it increasingly difficult for lots of people to keep a roof over their heads. But could skyrocketing rent be one of the reasons why we're seeing a shortage of workers in a number of industries? You bet. And it'll likely only get harder to recruit people to work in Toronto if they can't afford to live in Toronto.
Key workers and essential workers, paramedics, police, fire, teachers, and nurses, if they can't afford to live in Toronto, the hospitals won't be able to staff in terms of both medical staff and support staff, the cleaners and the custodial staff and the orderlies that keep hospitals going. So there are effects right across the labor market and across the economy that really do affect the capacity of a city to function.
This was the problem in places like London, England, and New York City, where employers needed to create key apartments where people could come and live in the apartment while they were working there and then go home on the weekends because they couldn't afford the time to commute.
People won't move to the city if they can't live close to work. So how many hours a day are people willing to lose just to get to work and come back home?
The most expensive houses and apartments are, of course, along the subway routes, but low-income people don't live anywhere near the subway routes. So that's the real cost is the long commutes and extra expenses imposed on other people who can least afford it.
Moving further and further away, at what point do you just give up and move altogether? Turns out many people are already doing just that. We saw people leave the city during the pandemic when working from home became a thing. Well, life is maybe not fully back to normal, but close. We're still seeing an exodus from Toronto. A record number of people left Ontario in 2022. The top reasons: the soaring cost of living, stagnant wages, and low housing affordability.
Certainly people struggling with housing understand it on a kind of visceral level, right? Like, wait a second, I've done everything I'm supposed to do. I went to school. I even got a couple of graduate degrees. I have a pretty decent job and I still can't afford housing. Like, wait, the social contract is broken.
That sort of pattern of migration out of Toronto, I think will expand and accelerate. People will say we just simply can't afford to live in this city, and they won't come. So there are a whole bunch of broad economic impacts that I think that will put Toronto on the edge of a cliff.
As much as the city is about its neighborhood businesses and shops, to me, the heartbeat of Toronto is the culture, the arts and music scene. So what happens to that if rents keep rising?
This is Oh. It's Nicole!
My name is Aurora Brown, and most people these days know me from Baroness Von Sketch Show, which is a comedy sketch show that I helped create and star in on CBC. I've been living in Toronto and performing here for a really long time.
She's been making Canadians laugh for years, and she knows how hard it is for artists to find affordable housing even at the best of times. She says she was lucky to find an apartment in this neighborhood at a pretty good rate.
A lot of the people who worked in the building were artists of various kinds, musicians, photographers, makeup artists, sketch comedians. That kind of stability of homing and rental units makes it possible for people to keep living in and enriching the city that they're part of.
But in 2016, just as her show and professional life were taking off, out of nowhere, the landlord sold the building. The new owners handed out eviction notices to all the tenants. They eventually gutted the building before putting the units back on the market as luxury rentals. But Brown and another tenant did something not many people necessarily have the resources, time, or energy to do. They fought back.
We couldn't hurt them in their business practices in any way. We couldn't stop them. I don't think they ever felt shame or anything like that. So any kind of comfort we did was cold comfort.
Eventually, the tenants won a settlement. Brown and her family found a new apartment at a much higher rent in the same neighborhood.
I know the rest of the country loves to hate on it, but I think if they lived where I live, they would have a really good time. It is a lovely place to live when you have a good neighborhood. And I've also been really fortunate to have, had Baroness means I can pay rent. But it's a grim situation out there for a lot of actors in particular.
Like, what happens to a place like Toronto if we keep going down this path?
Well, I mean, look at Yorkville, in the 60s, Joni Mitchell, that was the place for artists and hippies, and now it's the most expensive store. So I would imagine that's probably going to happen. I think you're going to either see people living in squalor stacked on top of each other, or you just have people leave the city. And all the people who are coming in and buying houses in the cool places, I guess it just won't be cool for very long unless they all start putting on sketch shows and doing all that stuff. I don't know.
Let's be honest, while many people are struggling right now, Toronto is also home to a lot of rich people. As affordability and the housing crisis gets worse, expect to see more polarization.
15 years from now, we'll have a whole part of the city that is full of people without very good life opportunities, earning very little money.
That's David Holchansky. He did a study on this very topic more than a decade ago, predicting exactly what we're seeing today: a city for the very rich and the very poor, and a disappearing middle class. No one has a crystal ball, but much of what we've heard from the experts about Toronto's future just isn't good. And I'll be honest, at times it felt hopeless, but when I asked some of the smartest people who've been studying this issue, some of them for decades, is there hope? I was surprised by what I heard.
And so long as people are angry or feel hopeless and want their governments to do something, something will happen, because you need to keep the pressure up.
Organize. If you're not organized, you're not going to achieve something. So tenants are poorly organized. They do their best. They're becoming more and more organized with these rent strikes.
I am, again, hopeful that there's a younger generation out there who views housing as home, and even maybe some young folks who want to get into the business of housing but aren't in it or don't want to be in it to make oodles of money, who kind of recognize that maybe there's a way to do it in a more sustainable way, in a more human rights friendly way.
So what will Toronto look like if we can't get these rent prices under control? Who will be left? Probably lots of people. We're a long way from seeing the city hollow out. Toronto is a magnet and people won't stop coming here. So maybe it's more about how those people make it work. What kind of a life can you build here? Because if something doesn't change soon, we may continue to see a deepening divide where only some Torontonians are thriving and many others are just barely surviving.
Shannon Martin joins us now. So Shannon, your story first aired back in September. What's the response been like?
Really overwhelming. We also put a call out on CBC.ca. We heard from hundreds and hundreds of renters, and that's because this isn't just a Toronto story. People are feeling it right across the country. We heard from renters who said, look, they've looked into leaving the big city, but the math doesn't always make sense. And if you think about it, it is a privilege to be able to pack up your life, relocate, but you get to a mid-sized city and rent is going up there too. So that's a big reality. We also know governments at every level are saying, pledging to build more affordable housing, but that really isn't an immediate solution. We know by the time they propose a rental building, get shovels in the ground, tenants in the door, it can take years. The average in Toronto is actually 8 years. So that does not provide relief for renters who need it right now.
For a lot of people, the math's not mathing.
That's right, exactly.
Thanks, Shannon.
You're welcome.
Coming up, one of our most unforgettable moments this year, a rescue scene as Canadian as it gets.
This is the most Canadian thing I've ever seen. Someone jumping out of their car in the freezing cold to save another person's Tim Hortons.
The driver who proved that not all heroes wear capes. Next. And as we wrap up the year, we're counting down 12 of our favorite moments. Tonight at number 11, a true Canadian hero who saved a double-double from tumbling into traffic.
That's the most Canadian thing I've ever seen.
I saw this car drive by with a coffee cup stuck to the roof. And I thought, oh my goodness, it's going to spill or cause an accident. And I kind of just turned my phone to the side. Another car rushed up beside it.
I saw the coffee on his car. Actually, I wrap cars, and that's actually why I noticed it, because I didn't want the paint to get damaged from the coffee.
I immediately thought, this is the most Canadian thing I've ever seen. Someone jumping out of their car in the freezing cold to save another person's Tim Hortons.
I think everybody's left like a coffee or something on the roof before, right? I put my four-ways on, just kind of ran over and gave a little tap. So, I gave him his coffee. He's like, hey, right on, bro.
So nice.
I think it's hilarious that people are saying that it's a true Canadian heritage moment, and they're saying it's like a Canadian hero thing. I just think it's so funny. You don't mess with a Canadian person's Tim Hortons.
Here's your drink, sir.
I love that. Everything about it. So Canadian, right? His hands in his pockets, his friendly jog around the car. He even made sure, as he said, to pull over to the side in a safe spot, put on his four-way blinkers before rescuing that coffee. No wonder people are petitioning for this to become a heritage moment. Bravo. Well, for all of us here at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Asha Tomlinson. Take care.